Welcome to the Cynical Developer Live. This is the podcast that helps you improve your development knowledge and career through explaining the latest and greatest in development technology, providing you with what you need to succeed as a developer. In this 4-part mini-series, we're recording in person at Percone Live Europe 2019 in Amsterdam. In this episode, we are again live at Percone Live Europe, and we're joined today by Jobin Augustine, and we're here to discuss Postgres. It's the future of databases, possibly, from what we've seen. So Jobin has 18 years of experience of Postgres, Oracle, MySQL, and other database technologies. He currently works for Percona and has previously worked for AWS and Dell. He is an active member of the Postgres community and has developed tooling around Postgres. Jobin is also an advocate of open source and software freedom. So welcome to the Cynical Developer, Jobin.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you for taking some time out away from the conference. I know you're here as a speaker and I guess as an attendee. There's some sessions you've been looking forward to.
Yes, very much.
Awesome. So we're here to talk about this database technology, which it's sort of one of the hot buzzwords at the moment. It's been around for a long time, but it seems to be popping up a lot more. And there's been a running joke through the episodes that we've recorded here about how do you pronounce Microsoft SQL, how do you pronounce MySQL. Now this one throws you for a loop because everybody calls it Postgres, but it's spelled PostgreSQL. Now, how should we be pronouncing that?
That's a big challenge. So people, we write PostgreSQL and calls it Postgres, and many times we use abbreviation PG. Yeah. Yeah. So
just to keep it simple.
Yeah. So you can call, that's a software freedom as well. Yeah. You can call the way you want and use your freedom.
Yeah. In my ignorance to it, I'd always known it as Postgres. Never really paid that much attention to it. And then when I started doing a little bit of background work for this interview, I saw it was PostgreSQL, and I was like, whoa, am I looking at the right product? I don't know. But that clears it up a little bit for us anyway. So now we've got that major milestone out of the way, and everybody now knows what they should and shouldn't be calling it. What is Postgres?
Yeah, at the very core of Postgres, it's a database system. It's a database management system. Originally, it was designed as a object relational database, but now everyone knows the relational database systems are the most popular, and gradually Postgres also become more of a relational database system. And it's more than a database system, it's a platform for further developments, and it is very modular. We can have a lot of extensions, add-ons, and the behavior changes accordingly. Yeah, so it's a place where you can start developing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was speaking to somebody at the conference yesterday, and they claimed that Postgres, it's not a database system or a database platform, it's a database framework. Now, I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Yeah, so there is a lot of history behind that. Say the Postgres started as an academia project in universities. So they tried different things, and people want to do completely different thing using Postgres. So the demand for diverse needs made it so flexible. I will call it's like liquid nature. So for example, there is a requirement for geographic information systems to find out what is the shortest route between two places. So this the GIS community, they want a database system to handle the data. So they selected Postgres because it's open and free. And the community is open, so the GIS community is also part of Postgres community, and they formed a project called PostGIS. So it's tightly coupled with the Postgres, but it's a module. It's a module we can load. It's not just one module. over a period of time they developed multiple extensions, and that's considered as one of the biggest Postgres extensions now in the world. And we see people select Postgres just to get the PostGIS functionality.
Yeah, that sets off a little bell in my head. I've got a side project I'm working on which is in the travel industry, and I manually did distances from destinations to airports to find out the closest airport, and I had to do all that myself, whereas I guess Postgres would have done it for me.
Yeah. So when we inherit the knowledge of others, most of the works will be already done. So our work become easier.
Yeah. And it's something I always refer to, the type of development that I do. Obviously being a .NET developer, that I always call it pretend programming, because for the most part we're taking building blocks and sticking them together. We're not actually building anything, unless you're talking to hardware or something like that. We're all standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
So never reinvent the wheel. If it's already out there and it
Absolutely.
does the job, then make good use of the smarter people than yourself to do a job, really.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it earlier there that Postgres has plugins that add massive functionality. So you talked about the GIS stuff out there. There's Postgres, if I said that right.
Yeah.
And coming from a .NET and SQL Server background, the database is just where I store the data, isn't it? It's not the application, but from what you've said, that Postgres is more than just a data store.
Yeah, that's a very important thing. Same, since it's a very flexible, liquid nature, people find, do I need a separate 2 machines or 2 servers to handle my workload? Why can't I do everything in one place? I can save money, especially that matters when we look at the database load. The database is all about data storing and retrieving. So it's more of a disk IO system. So the disk system become the bottleneck in a database systems.
Yeah.
At the same time, you will have plenty of CPU processing power sitting idle, and sometimes we may feel, why we are wasting so much? Why can't we use it for something else?
Yeah.
We can use it for some level of application processing, handling some REST APIs, all those things. Yeah. And at the same time, we are going to save a lot of network traffic also, because we are doing everything in one place.
Right.
Yeah. So
Sure.
the latency decreases. So there is a lot of advantage by putting things together. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been a dev manager in my journey through development, and I've fought and had heated debates and arguments and fall-ins out with developers that they've created the application, they've then harnessed something like Link to SQL, where they've done all the heavy lifting in the C# code, and I've said, do not do that. Use the database for what it's good at, and it's that processing of the data. Whereas this seems to be the whole other end of the scale, where you've got the database doing what the application should be doing as well. It just feels a little bit wrong to me.
So that's I agree with you. The reason behind such a thing is the looking at the modularity of the application. Say, when we write everything into database, it becoming a monolithic piece, and generally people won't like that way of doing things. The Postgres does something very smart. So there we have extensions for Python, say JavaScript, and any language module you want to use is available in Postgres. So it's independent modules, but physically sitting in one place. Right. The application logic is Python. You can probably detach it from database and host it somewhere else with a very minimal modification. But you have the flexibility to combine it one place. So it's logically it is 2 modules, but sitting in one place.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I've been involved in projects where they've wanted to move to Postgres from SQL Server, and I've always asked, well, why? What's the reason for doing it? And the only reason that the businesses have ever given to me is, what's the cost? Because the SQL Server licensing is so expensive, let's move it to Postgres. Why would I want to pick Postgres over the likes of SQL Server and MySQL? Because at the end of the day, migrating to Postgres from another data layer is expensive because you've got development time to do that. And in the long run, does it really balance out on cost? I don't know. What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's very very logical thinking. So the cost of migrating sometimes will be huge. In that case, we need to have a second thought whether we should really do that. And at the same time, we need to look at the business implications of migrating. So we have certain cases where we want to ship the database along with our application. So we want to have the full control on our software pieces. So if we link to SQL Server, we need to ask our clients to install SQL Server and get the licenses and things like that. So the entire installation setup, all those things become so difficult to manage and difficult to test as a single piece, because we may see a different case in our environment and our customers may see a different case in their environment. We won't be able to really sync up. So nowadays I see many software houses, they want to ship database along with their application. So Postgres becomes the right choice there for that particular business need. Yeah. So we need to look at the balance. Okay, how much effort we need to put into migration, and what is the business benefit we are going to get out of that. Yeah, and another aspect of Postgres is its security. So that's a controversial thing. So it's a personal opinion. For me, any software which is not publicly audited is a malware.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So because I used to code, I know how to hide things inside code. If a second person or the rest of the world is not auditing my code publicly, it is a potential malware.
Yeah. So there's a red flag to anybody that Jobin has worked for and written code. Go back and check his code, because he may have hidden something in there. Yeah. Just condemned yourself there, I think. So So does Postgres have anything specifically different to the likes of SQL Server when it comes to processing the data? Is it bigger? Is it better at dealing with large amounts of data than the likes of SQL Server? Does it have that sort of scalability built into it, or is that another plugin, another add-on, or something to it?
Yeah. So we have seen cases where Postgres handles huge amount of data, especially in today's world. We hear about something called IoT, Internet of Things, where the data comes from small devices like watches or car, huge amount of data. And the data pattern also changed. Now it's a time series data. So the Postgres we see in many places where this modern users are, we see modern users. Yeah, in terms of volume, it can handle, but yeah, every database has its own edge. So SQL Server has several advantages over Postgres. Definitely, I agree with that. And Postgres is not for everyone. We need to really test, validate our application, whether we can go with that. Sometimes we may design a system keeping SQL Server or Oracle in mind, and we'll do the entire coding for that. And later, if you try to migrate that to Postgres, we may see a different behavior. So the original database we considered for development really matters in many places. Yeah.
Okay. So with Postgres, is there like a specific application that you would go, right, that is perfect for Postgres, or is it just one of those database technologies? It's a good general database, and you can use it in most places.
Yes. At the same time, I say where you may not want to use Postgres. typically we hear about the LAMP stack. You have a WordPress or things like that, where historically we see MySQL, PHP. So where the layer of application engine directly deals with the database.
Yeah.
Postgres, Postgres can be used there. It's not like we should not use, but it's not designed for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so Postgres comes in a place where Oracle plays, where heavy lifting going on, complex SQLs. That's my take on that.
Right.
Yeah, but still we see the front end applications driven by Postgres. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, because I've often seen it. SQL Server switched out for Postgres, and then they use Postgres the same way that they use SQL Server. But from what you're saying, that's not really what it's designed to be used for.
Yes, as there are technological changes. Say earlier days, people used to write the web applications directly dealing with the database, as I mentioned. But now there is a change. I think Amazon like companies brought that change in. Now instead of saying database driven, they say API first design.
Right.
So our entire development happens around APIs, whether it is REST APIs or any APIs are designed first. In those cases, Postgres is the right fit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because we expose only API layers. And this is driven by the changes in mobility. Say now we need applications on mobile, desktop, and there is interaction with the rest of the world through APIs.
Sure.
Yeah, so the Postgres comes right in that place. Yeah, it can provide APIs and yeah.
So when you're building or when you're adding APIs over the top of Postgres, do you get to form those APIs yourself, or do these plugins just look at the data and expose the data as it's stored in the database?
So there are multiple ways we can do that. Yeah, so directly Postgres extensions doing it, or even applications. So you can have Java applications doing that, and the same Java application can be added added as a Postgres extension layer. Yeah, okay. Once you have the entire logic built in. Yeah. So the same business logic can be taken away from database and kept as a separate software as well. Yeah. So the flexibility is there.
Yeah. Fantastic. So Postgres, as I said in the introduction, has been around for a long time. Yeah. But all of a sudden, it seems to be at the forefront of people's minds. It seems to be one of the cool database technologies to use. I think it's sort of making its way up the usage stage. Why is it suddenly just now like this is the cool database to use again?
It's a fantastic question. So in my personal experience, I was knocking every door possible to start the adoption of Postgres several years back, and most of them turned me down. Okay, no, this is something experimental, academical stuff, and we should not be putting our business around this.
Yep.
We'll use some real proprietary stuffs and things like that. Yeah, so there is a threshold of comfort. Okay, and once the existing system gets challenged by different means, whether the competitiveness, for example, in modern world we see a lot of competition. So somebody is using a database system which is cheaper and very stable, highly secure, and at the same time the competition is running on a database which is highly expensive and very fragile. Then this is an unbiased, it's not unbalanced equation. So there's a clear winner. So people automatically started thinking, why that guy is doing smart, this other guy is doing smart. Then the discussion goes on. So people started understanding there is a real value in adopting open source. The same thing happened with Linux as well. So when I started using Linux in 90s, it was like people used to ask, Linux, what is that? I don't.
Yeah.
So and almost every year we used to think, this is the year of Linux, and everyone will throw away other operating systems and come to Linux. But it never happened like that.
Yeah.
The adoption was gradual. So the people who felt, yeah, it's giving me some value, they started adopting more. The same thing happens with Postgres. I know few shops where they started Postgres adoption just like as an experimental purpose. Okay, let me put this small application there in Postgres, and then they saw the value. The system is never going down. It's not crashing, and no maintenance required. And then the other systems keep crashing, or they have a lot of trouble with that. Slowly the adoption started, and the word of mouth goes around. Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of businesses are still now very scared of open source.
Yes.
I know of one company that a friend of mine used to work for that claimed that they didn't use any open source software at all. The irony of it is that they were a .NET shop, and as we all know, that .NET is now open source. So they sort of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. But I've also spoken to other developers who say that their clients always want SQL Server or Oracle because that's the technology to use, and it's safe and it's secure, and we know what it is. It's quantifiable, whereas going in using open source, using something like Postgres or even MySQL, it's a little bit of an unknown, and they seem to mistrust that code, even though they can go and see it. And I think that probably holds a lot of businesses back, really.
Yes.
Yeah. So one feature that seems to pop up again and again, and it's one of the reasons people go to Postgres, is the JSON support. Can you explain what it is and what sets Postgres apart from other databases that tend to support JSON?
Yes. Yeah. So the JSON adoption also kind of gradual. So early days when somebody came up with the JavaScript object notations, it's what is that? So we saw that is gradually replacing something like XML.
Yes.
Yeah, it's become it was becoming a standard over a period of time. So Postgres also started it as a text string to handle such JSON documents. Later we understood, the community understood this can be done in a better way. So the Postgres came up with something called binary JSON, called JSON B.
Yep.
The JSON document will be parsed and the data will be kept with the proper data types. So yeah, and it's not a one-time evolution. It's a continuous thing. So the need for JSON was increasing in the industry, and we saw database systems like MongoDB. They use extensively JSON. JSON is the document store. It's a JSON document store, and they implemented JSON APIs in their own way.
True.
And the demand was increasing. So what we saw in industry is everyone started implementing JSON APIs in their own way. It was totally scattered, and the problem for a developer is he need to change his code for each database system with differently. This was becoming a big pain. First of all, our knowledge is not portable. We need to learn different things. So the ANSI ISO committee came up with standards in 2016.
Okay.
So we are going to formalize the standards around JSON. So 2016, they published the standard specification. By the time Postgres had its own implementation of JSON, but since it's a community, we decided, we need to start adopting the standards.
Yeah.
So now with the release 12, we are going to have the JSON standards.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like we can specify the path, JSON path. It's like a XML path specification, and we won't claim that this is a work completely done. It's a starting of a big work. Yeah. So, but we are in the right direction, I believe.
Sure. So, I spoke to a couple of guys about MySQL yesterday.
Yeah.
And they were saying that MySQL now has this idea of NoSQL, but they were sort of saying maybe use it, maybe don't. It's not quite there yet. If you want to do a document database, go and use a document database, like you said MongoDB or something like that. Is this a similar thing for Postgres, or is it in a good place where it is production ready to use the JSON?
Yes, we have seen many users migrating from existing document stores to Postgres, but I won't be so confident to say that that's the way to do for everyone. Better I suggest test your case with the Postgres, and Postgres is not a work completely done, and we are continuously improving with version after version. Like I mentioned, the Postgres the JSON support started as a text string kind of. Now we have a lot more. We can create indexes, and we have seen certain benchmarks recently where the Postgres is beating existing JSON stores databases. So there are cases where Postgres excels, and there could be cases where it may not be the right thing. So we need to see where it goes. Yeah, and some of the benchmarks I was very interesting. Like Postgres showed 10 times performance than a competitor.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that could be an edge case.
Yeah.
But there are cases like that. If our application is having such a edge case, then literally we are able to replace 10 node cluster, the single node Postgres database.
Sure.
Yeah.
Although that sounds risky.
Yeah, risky.
You're putting all your eggs in one basket, as it was there. And sort of on that, reducing the cluster sizes down. How does Postgres scale? Does it scale horizontally? Does it scale vertically? Does it do both of them? Does it do none of them at all? How does that play out?
Yeah, so like we discussed earlier, Postgres is a platform.
Yeah.
So it has built-in replication capabilities. We have physical replication. Physical replication means bit by bit it will be copied to the standby. So we can have n number of standby servers looking at the primary and doing the copy from there.
Sure.
It's a dicto copy of block by block.
Right.
So all the queries can be routed to standbys. So because data is same.
Yep.
So from a select the read load perspective, it is very scalable, highly scalable with the built-in features. And when it comes to the write load, I am kind of opinion that in this world, only things works is sharding.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Rest all, say the multi-master concepts and all, it is more of a hype than reality. So
Sure.
the real thing works is the sharding, and Postgres has some level of sharding capability built in. But if we want very serious level of sharding, there are extensions available, and some of them are from specific vendors, so they may charge a little bit on the top of that.
Yeah.
But the options are there.
Yeah, we've got Vitesse at the event, and we've been talking. I was talking to them earlier, and they support MySQL, but I think they've also got a flavour of it that runs Postgres as well, and that looked very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And again, being the SQL Server side, I was looking at it going, well, isn't that just what a SQL farm is? Because you hit that endpoint and it distributes it. We've had this for a long time. Why is it only just a thing in this open source database community? But I've also had conversations talking about how technology seems to go round and round in circles, and every time we hit that pinpoint again, it's sort of like the Mayan calendar. We just do it a little bit better every time. And I was talking to one gentleman about it and saying about probably 11 years ago, I wrote a SPA application. Did not know that that wasn't a thing then. I had a web page and it all ran on JavaScript. It was a single page with a load of JavaScript files, and it would change the content on the page, and it worked reasonably well. Just like SPAs today, it was awful for SEO because Google didn't know how to interact and read with it back then. And then sort of come round several years later, and now SPAs are an actual thing, and there's real frameworks behind it. And I think every piece of the technology industry seems to be doing that. We see these circles.
Yeah.
So we were talking there about scaling of Postgres, and we talked about some of the benefits of it. Are there any limits to using Postgres? Are there database size limits or anything like that?
Theoretically, I don't see a limit, because we can extend it like say clubbing more and more servers and spreading it over a big farm. It's really possible with the sharding.
Sure.
Yeah, and sharding can be at the database level as well as something like the Facebook like companies does.
Yeah.
They have sharding at the application layer. So,
Sure.
so yeah, the database won't be a bottleneck there if you do it in a
Right.
yeah.
So off that comment, Facebook is run from Postgres, is it?
No, they are in the MySQL.
They're MySQL.
MySQL
Right, okay.
guys, yeah.
Are there any big brands that we would know of that are run on Postgres? So for anybody out there that wants to sort of give it a go, that they can take it to their boss and go, look, these guys use it, so it must be all right.
Yeah, it's the very Amazon. Is a Postgres shop.
Right. Okay.
So they migrated a lot of their Oracle databases to Postgres. Yeah, so it's a big Postgres shop.
Sure. There we go. So if you're worried about throughput and load and on your database, if Amazon can get away with it, then it's probably okay for your company that's got a couple of 100 meg of data. It'll probably work. If the listeners wanted to find out a little bit more about Postgres, to have a proper deep dive into it, get their hands on and start playing with it, do you have any suggestions where they should go and where they should look?
Yes. So, for example, if you have a Windows laptop and you want to install Postgres, there is a project called bigsql.org where they give the Windows binaries. It's a portable binaries.
Sure.
So you just need to download it and unpack it.
Okay.
Not even install. You don't need admin
Right.
privilege as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can start using it. So we have distributions, just like Linux distributions. We have distributions that target people with lesser experience on Postgres and make their life comfortable. Then once they are comfortable, they can go for bigger installations. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And even on a Linux installation, the Postgres installation is very simple. Say 2-3 lines of commands. That's it. You're done.
Awesome. So one thing we didn't actually touch on, which I think we should finish up with, is can I get Postgres in the cloud?
Postgres
in the cloud, is it available?
Yes. Yeah. So there are 2-3 types of Postgres available in the cloud. One is you can of course host in an EC2 instance like infrastructure cloud as infrastructure cloud, and we have managed services with the from different vendors. Amazon, Google, and Microsoft are the big players in that ground. And highly customized Postgres also available from different cloud vendors. Again, Amazon has their own Aurora for Postgres. That's,
sure.
Yeah. For a learning perspective, we can start with EC2. Yeah, and if the organization is not comfortable with managing things thereon, better go for a managed service from the vendor. Yeah, so they take care of everything.
Awesome. So this it sounds like this is actually a good use case for one of my projects, and maybe I'm going to go away and give it some proper thought now, because I keep putting off the database. So yeah, I think I might go and have a play with this, and see what comes of it.
Let's see. Yeah,
because all my data at the moment is in JSON files, so I might be able to just import that straight in and get on and run with it.
Good luck with the testing and implementation.
yeah, definitely. So that really sort of wraps things up, and we're out of time. So I'd just like to thank you for taking the time out today to come and speak to me.
Thank you very much for giving me a chance.
Yeah, not a problem at all. And thank you to everybody out there for listening to The Cynical Developer. I'm James Stoddart, and you've been listening to Jobin Augustine talking about Postgres.
If you have any questions about this or any other episode, then drop us an email, a tweet, or leave a comment on the website, where you can find all the resource links, show notes for each episode. And if you enjoy this episode, please leave a review on your favourite podcast platform, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever it is, and help The Cynical Developer to reach more developers around the globe.